Assalamualaikum and have a nice day everyone. Our group will present you about the great IT horror story of Craven books. Our group members are ZARITH SOFEA, NURUL SYAHIERA, ARRISSA ASMIRAH, NURUL IZZAH NAJWA and UMMI SYAHIRAH. Let's start with the introduction. This Craven book case tells the story of how a computer project drove the company almost to bankruptcy. Comic distributor Craven Books bought a new IT system with the aim of improving its efficiency, but the system was very ambitious and they went for the Big Bang approach. So the result leads to disaster. Craven lost many customers and it only saved itself from going bust by sacking many of its staff and going back to its old system.
Stakeholders' expectations or interest towards the case and repercussion to the stakeholders. There are 6 stakeholders in this case. The first one is Peter Craven. He wants to expand the business by upgrading the computer system of the warehouse. But repercussion to him is he lost major of the customers, have to cut off a lot on marketing, advertising and 60% of workers, and have to pay £1 million because of the suit filed by John. The second one is John Mentor, the consultant. He wants the system to perform well and fulfill Craven Books' wish to make the system work as they wanted. But repercussion to him is he had to change specifications on the system many times because Craven Books continually changed their mind about the system they wanted. In the end, John received a letter of cancellation for the whole project. The third one is Claire Burrow, the general manager. She wants the computer that was attached to an electronic weighing device works well. But repercussion to her is when any book or magazine is stored for a month of time in the warehouse, it starts to dry out so it becomes lighter. So when she doubled all these orders that were ready to be dispatched, the computer will reject them because it's too light. The fourth one is Jane Armitage, an ex-employee. Her expectation is the electronic map works well, but repercussion to her is she did not stick to the electronic map. So when she replenished the stock, she put some things in the old place and new place. So the computer told her that she needed to reorder the stock. But when she wanted to put the stock back in the warehouse, she found out that the stock she ordered had plenty and vice versa. Eventually, she became one of the 60% staff that was cut off. The fifth one is Tony Green, an ex-IT manager. He wants the fully integrated system for the warehouse that was installed is working well. But he relies too much on the consultant when a problem occurs with the new system, and he did not try to review or assess the given system to test its efficiency and effectiveness before implementing it. The last one is Jack Green, the customer of the Craven Books. His expectation is to get the book as requested, which is 5,000 books by Jeff Daniels. Instead, he receives 20,000 books by Dan Jeffrey. He received 2 big masses of empty boxes, while the other box had a tiny little book at the bottom of the big box.
There are 3 main issues of this case. The first one is unable to determine the suitable system for business. They picked the system without even trying to identify whether the system can be worked or not. Furthermore, there wasn't anyone in charge to teach the employees to use the new system. The second is they relied too much on software consultants. They did not try to review or to assess, to test its efficiency and effectiveness before it was implemented. The third one is disaster strikes. And because of this failure in the new system, it brings many negative feedbacks to the company. They lost about 80% of their customers. This led to many issues that reduce the company's performance, such as the conflict that happens in the actual situation with the results shown in the computer system. To be more specific, we will explain the case based on SDLC, Software Development Life Cycle. Number 1 is planning. In this planning phase, they have to study to ascertain the need for a new system. Second, analysis, and in this phase, they define the specific problem which both of the methods have. Third, development, and this is the phase where the software product gets created. He divides the work into units and has team working on them. Testing is part of the development work, but they did not do. Fourth, deployment, and depending on this situation, some implementation may require parallel running. Therefore, they have to keep both the old and new system running for some times, and they have to fix things. that did not work. The last one is maintenance. As the client continues using the new system, there will often arise the need to make changes and improvement for a better future.
Lessons that can be learned from the Craven Books fiasco is firstly, to always put your business first. To build better information systems, business owners must prepare for the occurrence of conflicts in the future. Owners should anticipate future conflicts and do what they need to do to handle them out in advance. This will result in better time management, allowing them to create a more effective information system strategy. Owners should also determine the business strategy and what the business is trying to achieve. It is a vital starting point for ensuring that a company has a good view of what financial goals to accomplish and what customer-centered strategies are needed to achieve those goals. Owners should also ensure that the information needs of the business are understood. Rather than trying to implement a remotely unfamiliar system, focusing on what needs to be focused on, such as improving the current system, is more important. Doing things step by step will help business to avoid major crises like what had happened to Craven Books. This is why putting the business first is important to build a better information system. The other mistake Craven Books made was not simplifying their business before computerizing it. This is because their business operations were still complicated to be computerized. Taking this as a lesson, owners should simplify their businesses by analyzing the current workflow and identifying key areas of focus and then breaking down the process into smaller, more manageable steps. This is to guarantee that the process is simple so that there will be no issues for the system to automate what the business wants. Lastly, companies must test this new workflow to avoid crisis when it is computerized. Hence, companies should always try to find ways to simplify their business operations for an effective information system.
The next lesson we can get from this story is the company should take one step at one time. A business strategy is a documented plan on how an organization is setting out to achieve their goal. A business strategy contains a number of key principles that outline how a company will go about attaining this goal. The reason why having a strategy is so important is because it gives business time to get a sense on how they are performing, what their capabilities are, and these capabilities are able to help them grow. In this case, Craven need a strategic planning to face this issue. So, they decide for doing a computerizing and think that it is the best solution because their rival companies had already adopted a similar IT system, but the decision was taken very rushingly without asking the management team or the employee about their opinion on how they will achieve their goal that way. So what happened next is they had forgotten to consider some important steps of the change, such as calculating the cost of computerizing or strategically planning this change. Because of the decision-making process were made way too rushed, it leads to unclear objective. So if they plan to do things step by step, I'm sure that this will help the company to settle their work movement smoothly and efficiently so that they can avoid any negligence that will happen or they can have a lower risk. The next lesson we can learn here is that standard package is less risky. Craven should know different types of strategies related to the customers and solution of package to fulfill the need of customers. In this case, Craven used both standard packages and tailored solution to develop the system, but sadly it caused the IT system to fail. Plus, the way how to fix the computer error is not shown to the staff. As a result, customers keep receiving the wrong stock and incorrect amount of stock. So the conclusion is, even though they have the choice to choose the standard packages or the tailored solution, if they choose to use the tailored solution, they can modify the system to suit to the business, but the price is more expensive than the standard packages. So that's why it is less risky to choose the standard package because of the lower cost and less risky.
The fifth lesson that we can learn from the Craven book case study is that we should not believe suppliers or consultants. While running a business, it is always a safe place to have a bit of a doubt with whoever we are working with, be it our suppliers, consultants, or even our own business partner. Some suppliers often have least interest in the company they are working with, and instead they prioritize the income they would have gotten from the bare minimum service they have provided. It is also important to hire a reliable and experienced suppliers to ensure the effectiveness of the system in case any problem arises within the company with the system provided by them. In this context, Craven's mistake is that they relied too much on their system provider. This matter could lead to an issue since they did not evaluate the efficiency and the effectiveness of the system and solely followed their consultant's advice. From this issue, business owners should have a background check on the consultant they are going to hire and ensure they have a good reputation and that they are qualified and experienced enough to consult on the business system. Business owners too should not rely on suppliers too much for the company's decision making. Instead, owners should have known the company better and should be the one who decides on the final decision that could bring a better future for the whole company. To conclude the whole case study, in order to stay in the market for a long run, business owners have to implement a suitable information technology system into their companies to survive the competition between businesses these days. The implementation should be done not only to reach the shareholders' expectation towards the company, it is also to fulfill customers' demand and changes in the behavior as the time changes. As for Craven books, in order for them to keep their position in the market and stay in the competitive environment, they need to have better planning for the company. This can be done by holding a meeting with the company management to discuss regarding the system implementation and ways to prevent any problem to occur with the system that could affect the company well-being.